Longevity in Health Equality We Trust is an exhibition journey through an imaginary city where together with Nick Palmarini we built 5 ministries that they have to administrate a republic that is not existing. The major scope of this exhibition project is that we would love to propose an idea of society where we can reduce the gap between lifespan and health span against the redemption of drugs. I mean, if you can have access to a certain welfare state, to some medicalization, to pharmacies, of course you have bigger chances on have a longer life. But in terms of inequalities, there's a large part of the population that they don't have access to this system. So you enter into this exhibition space and then you see this diagram. I mean, when it comes to physical environment, medical care or genetics and biology, is really hard to interfere or change this context. But when it comes to individual behavior and social circumstances, here it's where design can play its magic. Here it's where you can merge design theories and the research of doctors and medical institutions. We built this paradoxical city where there are 5 ministries. These ministries are the Minister of Purpose, the Minister of Food Democracy, the Minister of Sleep Equity, the Minister of Physical Freedom, and the Minister of Togetherness. 5 simple values, 5 simple instructions in order to see that and propose a tangible idea of longevity. We are not here to take care of all the older people. We are here to educate younger generation in order to have a longer life. The is built in the same way. There's an entrance, an architecture with a patrimony, there's examples, there's also a liturgy of flags and decorations. There's always an element that measure time, and this is everywhere. And what did I do with design? I try to anchor data analysis that comes from Nick Palmarini to the world of artifacts. According to the medical research, you have to sleep at between 6 and 8 hours per day, but there's so many elements that they can disturb this quantity of hours that you need to sleep. This is, for example, is a chaise longue designed by Konstantin Gercic that himself acted with these selfie sticks, because he also noticed that after the pandemic, our sleep is actively disturbed by our editorial activities. We reply emails, we do so many things instead of sleeping. Dreaming is extremely important, or also the relationship we have with light. This is an incredible project of Charlotte Perriand that he designed in 1950, but she was already aware of the importance of circadian lights. I want to point it out to this weighted blanket. Weighted blankets are usually used in the psychiatric hospital and are medical tools used to calm down patients. This is the work of the designer Mia Cinelli, that she designed a weighted blanket that is mimicking the hug. This is the Ministry of Food Democracy. What is food democracy nowadays when we have so many issues about what kind of quality food is and access to food? That's, for example, the story of the rider gaze. This is a work of the artist Lupo Borgonuovo together with the architect collective 2050 Plus. They mapped the journey of riders, not only during the pandemic, but also nowadays. And to us, it's interesting because these providers, they have so many data on where we eat, what we eat, where we buy it, at what time we eat it. And this is also extremely valuable to know because they have more information than our doctors. So this is a way to also tackle how we purchase and how we have access to food nowadays. Same was with Martin Guichet one of the first experiments of food design, the tonic death diet, or the work of the Romanian artist Daniel Spurri, where he actually froze the ritual of having dinner together with friends, but he also had cigarettes and glasses of red wine in order to say that also being disobedient to what your doctor is ordering to you is also fundamental to have a serene relationship with food. I want also to point out this bench designed by Hugo Passos for Fritz Hansen. It's a bench where you can sit in both ways, and it's a bench in front of the windows of Palazzo dell'Arte, because as I said before, you need to reconnect with the reality also and while you are visiting the exhibitions, because this exhibition is not a speculation, is also a proposal to a different journey. One of the last ministers is the Minister of Physical Freedom, and we interpret sports not only as an ode to victory, the other way around, the ode to pedestrianism and the ode to the fact that you just move your body while you do things. It's also the access point, the entry level of practicing a life that can be longer than you expected. You have rollerblades, but you also have this incredible example of robots that they follow you carrying groceries. These are, for example, objects that you usually find in a home environment, furniture that just because the presence of wheel, they give you the chance to move around your house, not only to change the way they look, but also the fact that you move together with them. The Minister of Togetherness is the only one without an architecture, but the architecture is a circus tent where there's behaviors and suggestions by Mauro Bubico, a graphic designer, and the chairs designed by Martino Gamper in a way that you can build your own way to live together.
I'm Nina Bassoli, I'm curator for architecture, urban regeneration and cities at Triennale Milano, and for the 24th International Exhibition I curated City, an exhibition which is an atlas of 43 cities all over the world, a place where people live together. The voices of 35 architects and designers coming from more than 20 different countries. I think that this atlas, this geography, could be inspiring for all the cities, inverting the hierarchies that are in the idea of the development. We've done an amazing movie by Amos Gitai, a very touching story talking about war and peace and coexistence of different people and cultures, which is taken from the book of Amos, of the prophet Amos, 7th century BC. And it seems to talk about nowadays, about today. On the opposite side, we have a very special case. We worked with the Association of the Relatives of the Victim of the Fire of the Grenfell Tower in London, a case of absolute inequality, a housing project inside a very gentrified and rich neighborhood of the City of London, and 72 casualties. Were the beginning of a big movement of activism and craftivism, like the kills that we see here are made by the relatives for sharing the pain and sharing the trauma, and also to build a consciousness and something to change the future. Talking about other different stories, again from all over the world, from the diaspora of the inhabitants of the Wales of Scampia, great housing project and its failure, we could say, on a migration of a village in Nigeria guided by Toshino Shinawo, a great architect that designed the new neighborhood, the new settlements, and liminal case studies as Svalbard Island, where you can live without any passport or visa, or again on the other side, the contradiction between the richness and the shininess of the skyscrapers in New York City and the dustiness of the quarry where the titanium is extracted for doing that building so brilliant and shiny. Or again, on the other side, the contradiction between the richness and the shininess of the skyscrapers in New York City and the dustiness of the quarry where the titanium is extracted for doing that building so brilliant and shiny. Here is the map where the 43 cities are gathered. This is made with Abnormal, the office that curated the exhibition from the point of view of the set design. And as you see, it's a new geography where Europe is no longer at the center of the world, and where the center of the world is a point in the North Pole for reversing the idea of first, second, third countries and development. Everything can be mixed again, and we have to change hierarchies and traditional development because that brings us to be so unequal. Here we pass through this moment of reflection, which are built with a magazine. Lotus magazine is a magazine that Triennale adopt for working together. And this section talk about the relationship between society and community, so how people live together. And the idea that there could be in the informal settlements a horizontal organization, very rich in the network of relationships, while in the shape of the great skyscrapers in New York, for instance, of the vertical city, this is a sort of histogram of the richness of people, a sort of paradox. But when you, as high as you grow, as rich as you are, and but here we have almost no relationship and no networking in the community sense. So this is to say that there are different models of growth, and that it's possible to learn different shape of being together from the different parts of the world. From the more dark atmosphere of the first part, here we are in the light. Kazuyo Sejima works since years in the very small island of Japan, a shrinking island where young people leave for other opportunities. But with architecture, the idea is to try to rebuild a sense of community. So working with an intersection between art and everyday life, so with very common activities, but with the magic of art, the community can be inspired and start to be together again. Here we are in Thailand, where Bunsen Prentada built this amazing house for feeding elephants, the species with whom he lives with. And in his work, there is this idea of the empathy with the other species that can be a rebalancing on the inequality between our and the other species, but most of all, it could be helpful for us for restart a new, more equal relationship with nature in general. So if we listen at the elephants, we can be better with nature, we can live better with nature. At the center of the elephant house, there is this diagram which is taken from Leonardo's famous Man, but at the center, there is an elephant. Here is a very beautiful piece, which is a sequence, a selection of textiles that are made by this cooperative of women based in Rudrapur in Bangladesh, where they stay together for recycling sari used and avoiding waste and building a strong sense of community and starting new microeconomies. And the project was started by Anna Ehringer, an architect that was building a school there. The school became also the place where the cooperative work. In the rural China, a group with students helped the community to restore traditional housing, scanning and 3D printing parts that are missing. So a mix between technology, and ancient knowledge of the carpentry and the new technology can be integrated for preserve the traditional culture and also a traditional place. The third insight made with the magazine Lotus is about the landscape and the landscape of Anthropocene. And it's interesting that an exhibition titled Cities ended in the landscape. After the workshop and laboratory between the more than 40 cities, we ended with the knowledge that we really have to reconsider our relationship with nature and with landscape, and with the way how we take care of our environment.
I'm Beatriz Colomina. I'm a professor of architecture at Princeton University, originally from Spain.
I'm Mark Wigley. I'm originally from New Zealand. I teach architecture at Columbia University, and this is our friend who has, like we do, 100 trillion microbes inside their intestine. And if you would unfold that intestine, it would be 32 square meters.
And this is the first piece that you see in the exhibition, the 32 square meters of the intestine, which is basically our interface with the world. And we are standing in this carpet. This carpet is 20 square meters. 20 square meters is the average space, built space of a human in the planet.
So humans are bigger than architecture, and of course we sharing microbes with buildings. So here we have an exhibition all about the intimate relationship between bacteria and buildings.
Yes.
And it's not a happy story. It has a sad ending. So let's go. Imagine that you would take a core sample of the whole biosphere, like from an apple, but from the biosphere, and you would see only the density of microbes. You would discover that
the majority of microbes are precisely at the ground level. But the most density of microbes is actually in the human colon. So there is a correlation between this cylinder here and this graphic on the wall, where you can see we have managed to send bacteria all the way into outer space. So despite all the cleaning protocols of NASA, etc., there are many microbes in the space station, to the point that now they are saying that the space station may be not inhabitable for humans because the stremophiles, which are the bacteria that resist every kind of drastic cleaning, are there in the same way that they are in hospitals and creating all these problems that people didn't come with.
So here you have already the main story of the exhibition, that we are made of microbes, we live in a world made of microbes, we are full of the greatest density of microbes, and we live close to the soil. And then 10,000 years ago, architecture came along and separated ourselves from the soil, separated ourselves from microbes, and this is having incredibly bad health effect on the human species. And our contribution to inequalities is to say inequality just means poor health.
And we pass through this curtain of microbes and we go into this great installation, which is basically the arsenal that a typical household in Italy uses to kill bacteria. So it's all about kill this, kill that, kill the other thing. We are antibacterial as a society. From the moment very much that bacteria was discovered, we as a society have been completely antibacterial, and as Mark was saying, this is having devastating effects on our health.
Yeah, you, us, the people listening, the Russians, antibacterial. We use deodorant, toilet paper, antibacterial. Cleaning, washing, scrubbing, wiping, everything. So we are all experts at killing bacteria, and bacteria are the source of our resilience, our health, our well-being, even our brain.
First of all, we have here the film of Liz Diller, which is all the cleaning protocols that Triennale puts in place to eliminate bacteria, and of course they don't succeed. There is always bacteria in the space. Here we have the first structures in the Neolithic when we first went indoors, and the moment that we went indoors, we created the conditions for the suicides that didn't exist before. For example, here you have a skeleton that was deformed by tuberculosis. So the moment that we went inside, so architecture created the conditions for epidemic diseases. The moment we went indoors, we became shorter, our lives were shorter, and we have diseases we didn't have before.
So basically, architecture is super unhealthy, And we do from the Neolithic to the Roman Empire, we do the plagues, we do the 19th century sanitary reform, which is about cholera, typhoid. And basically it's a new way of understanding that architecture is always interfering with our microbes. The end result, we're going to go fast, you'll see at the end, since we had architecture, and antibacterial resistance has gone up equally fast. So then we say, okay, we need a new paradigm, new way of thinking about bacteria.
Right, and this is like a bacterial garden where you can see all the different ways in which bacteria is used for construction, for remediation, for health, etc. For example, you have over there a piece of the cathedral that is actually cleaned with bacteria. Or you have, how do you call that, a fecal implant, these implants that are taken for health in which you introduce microbes into your body. But it's very, very interesting for us the point in which bacteria is not just used for health, that we already know in medicine, but also for remediation of buildings that are falling apart. They are injected with bacteria, they're used for cleaning, etc.
So for 10,000 years we treated architecture as antibacterial, but there's a new generation of architects for whom bacteria are the partners to producing a new kind of health. Then we invited 9 different studios, mainly working with microbiologists.
You see their projects here. It's what we call a 3D petri dish.
With Philip Ram, for example, that argues that kids from Milano right now should be exposed to the soil of Puglia, many miles away from Milano, because it has the bacteria that they will need to thrive when they are 18 years old.
Because climate change is moving 1 meter per hour. So little kids need to be in the soil that belongs to the microbes that they will have when they grow up. So all of these are amazing. We could say very quickly that soil, urine, manure, spit and sunlight are like what used to be concrete, steel, glass. The new raw materials of architecture are these things, and we invite the visitors to look at these works. They're not simply experiments. All of these architects are making buildings using this way of thinking. So it looks friendly. It's very, very interesting. Actually, it's a revolution.
Architectural revolution, a transformation. It's the real clients of architecture.
Bacteria. Bacteria have been for a long time the clients of modern architecture. You have Ecologic Studio, Rachel Armstrong, Andres Hake, and so many, Daniela Mitterberger, they're fantastic studios working in collaboration with bacteria. So this is the area of our exhibition where contemporary architects and artists are presenting their work in collaboration